In tutorial 13, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the Pickup Mushroom Grow for Mario characters. So you can go down to your Scenes in your Project tab, and just go down until you get to tutorial 13, double click on it. Now there's a couple of things you want to do before you get started with this. If you click on the character, you may click on them twice, or you can go over to your hierarchy, choose your player option, your game object over here, and the player inside of its inspector, double check on your player properties. Inside, you may, if you go into the player properties and you see things over here and they're empty, go ahead and select all the ones that need to be filled in. So for instance, the projectile fire, just choose your prefab fireball. Let's open this up a little bit wider. Okay, so your socket right, just do the right socket, left one, which will be part of the player option. There'll be the two right here. And then as well, make sure both your sheets for your animation standard and your fire are inside of there. And then the last thing to do, go ahead and make sure that the change Mario is checked and player state is currently set to Mario Small. If you have all of those finished off, then just go back up to the top of the inspector with it selected and click on Apply. That way this stays so that when you open up the scene again and you have the prefab Mario player cameras and HUD, it'll already have all those assigned to it. Alright, next one. If you click on the pickup item for the mushroom grow, if you have this one selected, let's go ahead and go into the inspector and take a look at it for a second. Inside of here, you'll notice that there's two options inside of our pickup. We have a pickup mushroom grow, and then inside of it, we have the collider. Okay, so this was just something that was a way to approach this object. At the moment, this first one, this is going to have a couple elements to it. This is the actual sprite object right here. For this one, we have a mushroom script, we have an item pickup, and we have a rigid body. Now, the rigid body is really useful because we actually have constraints on it now. So for the constraints, you'll notice that if you click on the drop down, you'll be able to see it. There's a freeze position rotation, and I've checked the bottom three for rotation. We don't want it to actually rotate. We want it to be square and straight the whole time. And then same thing for the freeze position. Don't want it to move in and out of the screen. We just want it to move on the X and the Y. Alright, so this is going to do the elements for that part of it. The mushroom script we'll start to write here in just a second, but before we write it, make sure that your item pickup, the item type is set to grow. The item particle, there is no particle, but if you recall from our script, we were writing an if statement to check for it, so if there isn't one, it's not going to throw an error and have any issue with it. It'll just bypass it. And then we have the Mario pickup sound file in here. Alright, so that's going to be the first part of the setup. For the mushroom, for the script file, let's go ahead and just kind of think about this for a second. We've got our rigid body. I could go ahead and push play, and because there's rigid body and gravity, notice that the mushroom falls. You know, this is going to fall automatically because there's gravity being assigned to it. If my player walks over, I already have the item pickup on it, which means that when we're in here and we move, the player automatically grows, and then it automatically deletes once the sound file length is done. So we have our character able to grow with it. The catch, though, is that if you recall from the game, is that when the mushrooms come in, they don't just stay in one spot, they actually move to the left and to the right. So what we want to do is actually set it up so that it can do that. Inside the scene as well, I've also got two blocks one on each side. That way when the mushroom gets to an end, if you remember, the other part of the game is that when it hits a block or it hits an area, it starts to go back the other direction. So in order to do that, we're going to have to set up that other collider, which is the mushroom collider right here. So we'll have a couple of checks and two scripts that we'll work over. Let's go ahead and start off by going to the first one, though. So with the sprite, the mushroom sprite selected, go to your mushroom script and just double click on the mushroom script file. Alright. And let's go ahead and just work these over here. The mushroom script file, this is going to be the one that basically controls the mushroom movement, and it basically is going to set the bounce direction. Okay, so what we want to do, and this is something that when you first start, I would almost suggest, like, if you think you have an idea for it, go ahead and stop. Try to come up with an idea. Is that we want it to be able to drop to the ground, so we already have that. We want the mushroom to be able to go to the left or the right, and if it hits an object that has a tag name, we want it to be able to say, okay, if you're bounceable, when I get to this end, I'm going to change directions and go the other way. Alright, so if you can come up with an idea, go ahead, and then you can come back and see how close you got to the way that I set it up. So for this one, alright, we have mushroom. We'll go ahead and title it here. We'll say mushroom setup for grow, and we'll also use this one for the one up, so we'll go ahead and just include that with it. Alright, the description, our basic idea is what we were talking about before. So it's going to control, it basically controls the mushroom movement and sets the bounce direction. Alright, and what we want to do for the instruction, if we're just kind of going off of the ideas, is going to be assigning to an object and set bounceable objects. I think we could spell bounceable like that. That'll work for me. Objects with tag names, and we can set tag names to either. We can actually do several if we want, but we could do block. And then also, if you think about it, if there's more than one mushroom inside the scene, then you may want to actually have this called something else as well. So we could say we'll do a check for block and for mushrooms. Alright. So for this, let's go ahead and start in on creating some functions that we need, some variables. The variable types. Let's do a mushroom direction. So this would be saying whether or not it's going to the left or the right. It's very similar to the, we'll do a direction type, and then we'll set a speed type as well. For this one, we'll do a game object. This is going to be the collider one that we have. The collider option right here. We'll be using that one. Let's say game object. And let's do the collider for the mushroom object. Let's do one more variable. We'll do the mushroom speed. Let's go ahead and make this one a little bit further down. And for the speed, the type will just be a float, and then we'll just equal it to 1. Alright, so this will be the speed of the mushroom. Okay, so inside of our update, what we want to do is be able to find, we're going to have two scripts going. So again, we've got one script on this, which is going to be on the sprite itself, and this is going to be saying which direction the object should be moving. Aside from this one, though, we actually have to have a collider. The collider option, we'll go ahead and click on this and look at it real fast. The collider is going to have the trigger, and the trigger is going to be checking. So on a trigger enter, it's going to check for block or for the pickup mushroom. So if it sees either of those names, then it'll say to change the direction. Alright, so let's go ahead and double click on this one as well. We'll work over both these scripts at the same time. Alright, so for this one, okay, this one is going to be the one, again, this is on our mushroom collider. So we have two scripts open right now. We've got both of these. The mushroom collider, let's go ahead and title this here so we know when we're jumping back and forth. So this would be the mushroom collider direction. And for this, on the description side, this will basically check for collisions. Oops. So every time there's a collision with an object tag name, we'll say, I think we were using, make sure we were using the same one, block and mushroom. block and mushroom. Changes direction. Alright. And our instructions we could do again. We'll just say it's going to be assigned to the collision game object. And it's going to be the one that's attached to the pickup item. So again, this one being attached to the pickup item right there. Alright. So if we have both of these, let's go ahead and work over we'll go ahead and work over this one. That way we can feed the information into the mushroom. So the mushroom collider on this, let's make a variable. We'll just call this one mushroom direction. And this will be a true-false statement. And we'll set it to true. So this is just going to simply enable the mushroom direction for us. Alright, so the function update we don't need. What we're going to use is that since this is going to be a collider, it's going to be the trigger. That means that when it hits another object, so we're looking for the onTrigger enter. So do the onTrigger enter. And we'll want to be checking for other collider. Alright, so inside of here, what we were looking for, if you remember the tag name, we're looking for a tag name called block. So anything with block on it, or anything with the mushroom, so we've got the pickup mushroom right here. Alright, so let's just do a quick check on this. We'll just say if other tag is equal to one of those tag names. So we'll say block, or if other tag is equal to, we'll say the pickup mushroom. Alright, so if the tag name of either of those are set, so for instance with this object is called block on the tag, and so is this one. This object is actually called pickup mushroom, so that there's more than one, it'll bounce off of it. Alright, so inside the if statement, alright, so inside our if statement, let's just say we're going to, if you think about a way to make sure that when it goes one way, it just turns true or turns false. In order to turn an object as true or false and toggle back and forth between them, all you have to do is say mushroom, and this could be with any type of object. We just say one object is going to be equal to the false of that object. So that means that every time this is true, if this is true, it now equals false. If this is false, then it now equals true. So it's just toggling it back and forth. Alright, which means for us, that's going to be saying that it's going to basically change direction. We'll just say true, false, but really what we're looking for is the 1, 0 from it. Alright, and let's finish off with a couple of our comments right here. And so we'll say if there's a collision occurs, alright, and we'll just say check for tag names. So if we have the one function that's calling on the collision when the player gets it, we have that one already done. If the object hits a wall or hits itself, then it's going to go in here and say that it's hit one of those, change direction. So inside of the mushroom script, this is going to be the so not the collider, but the actual mushroom sprite. If it actually does occur, then let's go ahead and set it up so that we have a basic speed and direction. So for the update, let's just call up our, let's see, we'll do our move direction. So move direction on this one, we're going to make this equal to a mushroom direction. And the mushroom direction, let's do a get component. And the get component is going to be the mushroom collider. So let's just call our mushroom collider. Alright. And we'll do a dot mushroom direction. There we go. So we're just getting the collider information from our mushroom collider JavaScript file. So let's just say we're going to get our collider information from our mushroom collider JavaScript. Alright. And that's just where you just jump back to here, make sure you got the right names. So if we have our move direction set for that, then we can go ahead and start setting in the properties for it here. Alright, so what we want to do is say that if the move direction, so we're saying if move direction, and on this one, let's make sure that we have it set right here. So if move direction is true, we'll go ahead and comment on this one. So if move direction is true, then let's do the following. We want to set our we want to set the mushroom speed actually to equal 1. Alright, so this is going to set the speed to move to the right, positive value. And if we have the opposite now, say we have move direction is false, then if it's false, we want to actually just set the move speed to -1. So we'll say mushroom speed is going to equal -1. Alright. And we'll go ahead and comment on that. Set speed to move left. And this one will be if move direction is false. Okay. And the last thing, in order to move an object, what do we want to do? This is just assigned to the sprite. If we're trying to move the sprite left and right, what are we going to call up? Should be able to remember this is just a basic one. We're just going to call up our transform.translate. And inside of it, we'll just take our mushroom speed, and we're going to multiply. This is going to be on the x-axis right here, so left and right. We'll do mushroom speed times time.delta time. And the other two will be 0 and 0. Alright. Let's go ahead and save this out. Okay, so if we go inside of here, if we click on the play button, this time when it falls and it drops, what you should notice, oops, let's double check on that one, and make sure we got the right mushroom assigned to it. So inside of here, just go over to your hierarchy, click on the mushroom collider, and inside your mushroom script, we just need to make sure we do our mushroom direction. This is going to be the collider object. And next time you do it, when you play, it'll hit, and when it hits, it's actually going to hit and then start to move away, move to the other side. There you go. So then we have a basic mushroom that can bounce back and forth through here. Alright. And if we're fast enough, we can grab it. There we go. So that'll be the mushroom collider and the mushroom mover for the grow, as well as for the one up, and we'll take a look at that one next.